Welcome to Jesus Energy, where we move beyond beliefs and focus on embodying the healing, transforming, and loving energy of Jesus. Hi, I'm Kate King, spiritual director, writer, mom, wife, really just someone obsessed with talking to other people about God, learning about God, and getting to the heart of the original mission of Jesus. This podcast is dedicated to anyone who longs to move into a more experiential dimension of Christianity, to those that long to be spiritually curious and expansive while also rooted into the love of Christ, to those that are wondering if they're still Christian and know they long to hold on to their relationship with Jesus, and to anyone that simply wants to cultivate more heaven on this earth and come fully alive in the here and now. This is for us. Today, we get to talk to the incredible John March. He is the executive director of Restoration Ministries, close to where I live here in the Minneapolis area of Minnesota. And he was also our family pastor for years at a New City Covenant church. And he was the first person to introduce me to my favorite spiritual formation practices, everything from centering prayer to the examen to the rule of life. And I don't remember if it was him or my spiritual director, Kim, that first introduced me to mysticism and helped me realize that I wasn't losing my mind and rather just falling into the beauty of the experience of mysticism, which is deeply rooted in Christian history and in the ways of Jesus. I'm so excited for you to get to hear from him today. He just breathes authenticity and cultivates more of it wherever he goes. And he helped me live out an authentic faith and be true to who I am and show up as I am. And his work has helped me live more from my true self, rooted in Jesus. And I am so excited to share his work with you because I truly believe that it spreads the energy of Jesus. Thank you so much for being here. I know there's so many places that you can choose to be. The fact that you are here is such a gift. You are a gift to the world. You being your true self, rooted in Jesus, is the best gift you can offer the world. And I pray that this helps you live more from your true self, rooted in Christ today and in the days ahead. So much love and goodness to you. Let's do it. Yay, I'm so excited to be here with John March. John is the executive director of Restoration Ministries, Christian spiritual direction and formation here in Minnesota. And he also happens to have been our pastor at the church we went to for a number of years, where I was a children's ministry leader for a few years there. And yeah, it's just really special to have you here, John. I have to say, you have been impactful to me in my life and in my faith in more ways than you even know. Um, it was either you or Kim. I think you guys both mentioned the word mystic to me around the same time. I don't know who mentioned it first, but that changed the course of my faith, becoming aware of mysticism and Christian mysticism and its rich history with Jesus. And you I'm just gonna go on and on about you for a minute, so you can just
Okay.
you are someone that is so filled with grace. You are just so open to however somebody might be in the time that you are with them and are just so grace-filled and compassionate. And I've broke down in tears more times than I can count with you. And I've never felt awkward about it. You've always reminded me that our tears are sacred and holy. And you gave me an opportunity to speak at our church, which opened up a passion for me that makes me really feel alive so, so much. You're an incredibly talented teacher, and I just am honored to have you here, and I'm so grateful to have had you in my life.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
What a gift that was.
yeah. I could go on, but I'm like, okay,
No, that's more than sufficient.
we'll
Thank you.
pause here.
Yeah. Oh, it's really nice.
So, yeah, I would simply just love to begin by hearing from your voice. kind of who you are, what you're up to, anything from your mission and ministry in life to what you would love to do if you were just handed a free afternoon. What
Mhm.
lights you up?
Yeah, so I am the executive director of Restoration Ministries, which, as you mentioned, we do spiritual direction and spiritual formation. I am a spiritual director. The place where I got trained in spiritual direction, SELA, I'm a supervisor there.
Cool.
I go out to the retreats. It's a new thing for me, and I'm
Oh,
really enjoying it.
yeah, I love that. That's amazing. Where are those
And
retreats held again? I feel
so
like it was in a cool spot.
they have locations in they have a few different places they do it, but the one that I do is the West version, which is in
Yes, that's
Phoenix
right.
area. So I go twice a year on retreat and
Amazing.
then get to companion some of the spiritual directors in training through their formation. So that's what I do. I think, so with our ministry, Restoration Ministries, we lead retreats, we have prayer groups, we partner with churches on spiritual formation things, and then I meet with people one on one in spiritual direction. And it's interesting. I've been reflecting a bit on kind of, I think, the nature of your question even before you asked it, because you gave
Yeah.
me some of these questions in advance. And I don't feel like I have a nice, neat, and tidy role or job description. And part of my job description feels like it really is to give extra space and time to just be with the Lord,
Hmm.
to prioritize prayer and to
Yeah.
try and cultivate um, that life with Him.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it's kind of it feels, I think, because of the way that I was raised, it feels a little awkward to name that as part of my job description, but I think that is a part of what I'm called to do and to prioritize.
That's amazing. And what lights you up on a free afternoon?
Oh, I like being outdoors. I like, taking, like, if we lived anywhere close to mountains, like hiking is one of my most favorite things to do.
Oh, cool.
But probably I like exercising. And
Yeah.
so like if it weren't winter, it would be an outdoor bike ride. Just absolutely
You
feels
would
so
bike ride over swim?
oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, swimming is so I swim in college, and I swim regularly now to stay. It's a great way to get exercise that's like full body workout, and it's not hard on any part of my body. So like running might be or something.
Yeah.
So it's really good for me, but I don't like love it.
Yeah.
But biking, I love. There's so many great trails around here.
Fun.
Or I do virtual biking. I have a trainer, and I can do like these races in a virtual world, and
Not
that's super fun.
Peloton? Something different?
It's a little different. It's called
Okay.
Zwift.
Cool.
It's like a gamified version, and so there's other people, and you, like, can actually race against them through
Oh,
these
that's
virtual.
fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Do you do like a race bike when you go biking or like thick tire or
So I
both?
have a road bike, and then I
Yeah.
have a gravel bike.
Cool. Is that one of the big winter ones or
No,
just
yeah,
yeah.
it's not like the fat tire ones or
Yeah.
whatever they're called. It's basically like a road bike. It doesn't have any suspension. It just has thicker tires, so you can go on gravel and kinda go wherever.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you go from being a pastor to spiritual director? And maybe even before that, if you wouldn't mind sharing, John, like how did you wind up in ministry itself?
Okay. Well, so I grew up in the church. I went to college. I didn't go to church during college. I majored in computer engineering. I graduated from college, spiritually broken, but I got a good job as a computer engineer in the late 90s in Chicago area. And that was going fine, but I was also at the time going through really rediscovering and reinvigorating my faith and having a pretty transformative and healing experience in a church in the suburbs of Chicago. And after working for a little more than a year as an engineer, just felt like, actually looking back on it, I don't know if I had this language then. I had some mystical encounters
Hmm.
with the Lord. And my heart was just burning to pursue knowing him more deeply. And so I quit my job as an engineer, and because there was an opportunity that had gone out in the email chain of the singles group I was a part of
Yeah.
to be a seventh grade teacher in Malawi, Africa. So I quit my job and went. and
Wow.
just kind of did something radical, but it was a way. Initially I really wanted to go to seminary because I had this strong desire to just read and learn
Hmm.
about God because I felt like I had just been wasting my life. I could have been spending all this time learning about God and I hadn't done anything. And then something awakened in me and I just wanted to learn and consume every book I could get my hands on.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had zero actual ministry experience. And so I should probably try doing ministry out before I went to seminary.
Yeah.
And so this opportunity went and it came along to go teach in Malawi. And Gal just agonized through that decision, but ultimately made the decision to go and had just a wonderful year in
Mm.
Malawi. Came back, then went to seminary and had more mission type experiences over the summers while I was in seminary in Thailand and in China. And, but was working at a church plant and ultimately then decided that that was kind of where the Lord was leading me to do church planting, moved back to Minneapolis, started planting a church, which you were a part of. And it was pretty early on in that process that I felt just ill prepared, just in terms of like spiritual maturity for the weight of responsibility and leadership that came with being in that role. And it wasn't like anything extraordinarily difficult was happening. It was pretty normal pastoral ministry stuff, pretty normal church planting stuff. But I was not handling all the little disappointments well. I was not handling the stress well, the stress of having a young family and trying to lead a church and trying to start a church and
Yeah.
do evangelism and meeting in the rec center and just all the stuff that you have to do when you're planting a church. And so, I recognized that I was not healthy. Like I was not dealing with things that, in as healthy a way as I wanted to. So pretty early on, I went and I started seeing a counselor and also actually I got a spiritual director first. And I just unloaded on him in the first few sessions. And he's like, you might want to see a counselor. It's like not the most enjoyable thing to hear from a spiritual director,
Yeah. Yeah. I
but
love that.
but I needed to see a counselor. And I
Yeah.
was seeing a spiritual director. I kept seeing him as well while
Yeah.
I was in counseling.
Amazing. Yeah.
Counseling was super helpful. You really like learn you can learn things about relationships, about family of origin, about best practices around boundaries and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff in counseling. And I needed to do some of that. But then it was in the spiritual direction I think that I really got to come face to face with where is God in my life when things aren't going the way that I want them to go,
Yes.
when I'm feeling disappointed. Um, because
Mm.
I was asking for things that I thought God would really want to do, like
Mm.
help us evangelize more people,
Yeah.
help us find a new worship leader because our worship leader just quit, help us find new leaders for the leadership team. Asking and praying for those things, which are really, really good things. And just it felt like the exact opposite thing was happening. And so there's a little bit of a like, what in the world, God? Either you are not real or you're doing something very different than I'm expecting you to do.
That's so fascinating. Yeah.
And so spiritual direction was really the place where I had to ask those questions. And
Yeah.
I felt like there was an invitation to search and notice the way God was very much with me
Mm.
and doing something very profound in my soul and in his companioning of me through all the disappointment, but not just there to kind of like magically fix all my problems.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty huge for
Yeah.
me.
Wow.
And so I met with a spiritual director all basically, I have been meeting with a spiritual director since then on a monthly basis.
Wow.
I switch I had one change, but been pretty consistently. And it's kind of after, I don't know, 6 or 7 years of being a pastor, regularly meeting with a spiritual director, I went and got trained and then kind of, I don't know, do you want me to just keep going or what?
Sure. Heck yeah. Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know exactly when, it was probably 2017 or 18. I was not sure I didn't feel like anything magical, like God saying, "You're supposed to now go be a spiritual director," or anything. It was kinda I just had this awareness, like, I needed more retreat time. I
Yeah.
needed to get out of the daily rhythm of
Yeah.
family life and leading a church and just be alone with the Lord.
Hmm.
And I became aware of this program, spiritual director training program, and it was a retreat based program. And I was like, well, I kind of like learning. That's like actually
Yeah.
nourishing to my soul,
Yeah.
reading books. And I really like spiritual direction. So this will probably be helpful for me to just learn these things. I can incorporate them into my pastoral ministry here. And it's retreat based. It doesn't seem like overly academic. So anyway, so basically signed up for it just as like a way to have structured retreat. It was 2
Yes.
retreats a year for 2.5 years. As I did that, then I started seeing directees, and then I got connected with Restoration Ministries. I started leading retreats. I went on the board, and that kind of part of the ministry just started to grow. After a few years, felt like that was becoming big enough. It's kinda like a side hustle that grew and then became big enough that I needed to think either I need to pare this back or make the pivot.
Mhm.
Felt pretty I mean, I loved New City. I liked preaching a lot, but I think I was ready to move slower,
Yeah.
just to feel like kinda what I was naming, like, there was more time for me to have, like, a spacious life with the Lord and to
Yes.
give more of my time to prayer and then spiritual direction.
Hmm.
It just kinda fits well with that lifestyle.
That's so amazing and really interesting to hear you say about like going back to the beginning of church planning and dealing with disappointments and emotional like health and well-being because I would say that was one of your strengths as a pastor is teaching emotionally healthy spirituality, guiding us in that and just being like a space for authenticity and honesty. So that's just interesting that that like became a fruit then of that work. Also, okay, what did you find was the answer to how did you word it? Like when God isn't like you said you had these really good prayers, like God honoring prayers and they weren't coming through. What did you find was happening like in your soul or what was like your answer to seeking that?
Mhm.
I'm having trouble wording that. Do you know where I'm
Yeah.
going with that kinda?
Yeah. I don't know that that has ceased to be an issue for me. I think that that's part of the human condition.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm aware of is there's some mystery, I think, in the grace, in like the greater the disappointment, the greater to degree to which we have to release something that we're clinging to that
Mm.
isn't God
Yeah.
and saying we need this thing to be okay.
Yeah.
And we're forced to let go of it.
Yeah.
And then as we let go, it feels like God fills up that space and we become, so it's like we gain more of God or more of God's presence.
Wow.
And I think then for me, it just my faith grows like because there's more of a I'm not living by what I'm demanding the way my life goes, but
Yes.
there's more of just this sense of like I don't need my life to be any different than it is, and I'm okay because
Mm.
God is with me.
Yeah.
And like the disappointments are just like they're the bearers of that like transformative process.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Yeah. I
But
really
it's
feel
not
that in
like
my life right now. Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
disappointment's still there.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my next thought. Like, is that forever a part of the human condition? Or can we, like, do you feel more freedom from that at all? Or do you think we can?
I mean, I think
Or is that even a goal?
well, my sense is if we just move into deeper and deeper places of freedom,
Yeah.
and we're blind to the ways that we're not free.
Yeah.
And so I think you do release certain things, and I think kind of move past them to a certain degree. Maybe they cycle back in different variations.
Yeah.
But I also think then as you kind of release that, then you settle into this place of freedom, and then like a new way that you're not free emerges that you've got to release. And so it feels like we're always on that. For me, at least, I don't know. Maybe there's an arriving, but it does feel like there's just so many spaces, so many different ways I can be aware that I'm not getting what I want and be
Yeah.
upset about it.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Okay, how would you describe I think it's interesting and cool that you did like counseling and spiritual direction alongside one another for so long. How do you like I always love hearing how people define spiritual direction. How do you describe and define that and how does it differ from counseling or therapy? Yeah.
Well, so when I meet with people for the first time, I kind of go over my preliminary stuff with them. And one of the things I do is I'll define spiritual direction. And like the simplest definition that I have as my role as a spiritual director is to help the person I'm meeting with to listen for the voice of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
It's very, very basic and simple. And that the primary conversation that is unfolding in a spiritual direction session is between the Lord and the directee and not between me and the directee. And so, as I am in that space, I am listening to the directee, but I'm also listening for the voice of the Lord and listening for the ways in which they're responding to something that the Lord is doing in their life.
Yeah.
And then trying to ask a question that helps them stay in that conversation that's happening between them and the Lord.
That's so beautiful.
And I feel like with counseling, it's more of a like conversation between the person who's there for counseling and the counselor, and the
Yeah.
counselor's giving them advice and
Yeah.
telling them, okay, you're having this issue with a mother-in-law. This is probably the relational dynamics that are going on, and these are the strategies that you can take. And you go to that. And oftentimes what I find is people come because counseling is so pervasive in our culture that people come into spiritual direction kind of wanting that. They
Yeah.
want me to fix their spiritual problems, or they want me to tell them what God is saying to them.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. And so a lot of times people are actually quite disappointed in spiritual direction. It's kind of like, what are you doing? Like, what are
Yeah.
we
Well,
doing
then
here?
why am I here? Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
pray on my own time.
Right. Yeah.
But obviously, I think that there's a tremendous value in having a
Yes.
companion who's listening
Yes.
with you
Yes.
and helping you even just hear the things that you're saying by saying them
Yes.
back to you and noticing just little things like where
Yes.
the Lord is in your statement that can help bring something that's so that you're just grasping to with faith. It helps bring
Yes.
it out into the open
Yes.
and makes it more concrete.
Yes. There truly is something special about the time together that brings about more than I could ever do by
Yeah.
myself.
So helpful. I agree.
So helpful. And yeah, so who would you recommend like spiritual direction is for? If someone is like curious about it, who do you think it serves?
So um I think fundamentally it's like a support to a person's prayer life.
Yeah.
I think spiritual direction is fundamentally supposed to be supportive for prayer. So my hope is that people who are in regular spiritual direction, it's
Yeah.
really edifying and helping them pray. So whatever
Yeah.
is happening in spiritual direction, then they're taking that into their personal prayer for a while. And
Yeah.
then as they get ready for spiritual direction, usually there's some place that they're stuck in prayer that then they can bring in. And it's not
Yeah.
like super esoteric. It's like what's going on in your life.
Yes.
It's like what are you talking to God about? What are you crying out for help to God with?
Yes.
What in what ways are you seeking help from the Lord and just can't
Yeah.
quite figure out where to hear his leading from?
Mm.
And so basically spiritual direction is for anybody who's trying to pray
Mm.
and would like support in their prayer life.
So
And
why
so
does oh sorry to interrupt.
no, so I was just going to say so I think that's a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah. Why does prayer matter? Coming out of left field, but prayer is important to you and you assist people in their prayer. How does it make a difference? What have you found in your life that prayer is so essential to your walk with God and just your life in general?
Yeah. So when I say prayer, it's just super broadly defined. It's
Yeah.
just our the communion that we have with the Lord.
Yes.
And so that could be, just our sense as we're moving through our day of how
Yeah.
he is with us. It could be specific requests. I mean, I think kind of the initial way that we're taught what prayer is it's like, Aunt so and so is sick. Please help her to feel better. Like that's
Yes.
just kind of present. But I really feel like it's a lot. It's all the diverse myriad ways that we are interacting with the Lord. And in him we live and move and have our being. Like we're sustained by him, like he is our entire life, So it's just attentiveness to the most
Yes.
real part of our
Yes.
life,
Yes.
and trying to
Mm.
listen and pay attention and
Yeah.
talk to God about what's going on so we can understand what is true and who we are and what we should do.
I love that attentiveness to the most real part of our life. That's so beautiful. Can I ask? So, if this isn't appropriate, we can just move on. But I am curious, like, if there's a common seeking or struggle or something that directees bring most often into prayer in their time. And I say that, of course, wanting to respect the privacy but is there like a theme or a thread there that you notice? Or like even in seasons? Like, as right now, is there something more that seems new and emerging?
I think so. I saw this question before, and I was really trying.
Yeah,
It definitely feels like just different people are coming for different reasons.
yeah, yeah.
Usually, for people really to be ready for spiritual direction, there needs to be some experience of death, of the false self.
Mm,
There needs to be something that has happened that feels like an unbearable loss, even if
mm,
it's small, but
yeah,
because of the way that they're psychologically put together or
yeah,
because of what they think they need,
yeah,
that they didn't get.
yeah,
And they can't figure out why they're not getting it.
yeah,
And, or like their understanding of how the world is ordered or
yeah.
who God is and what God does, something has blown
Mm,
up.
yes,
And so then when they're coming in, they're trying to figure out like, I gotta figure out how the world is or how
yes,
God is or who I am.
yeah,
So there's something like that that is
yes,
that's super general, but like
yeah,
that tends to be an important precursor. And so sometimes people will come into direction without that,
yeah.
and they're just maybe not quite ready yet. For whatever reason, they're coming in and they're wanting something, and they're just not quite ready.
I'm so glad you said that, and that reminds me, I almost totally forgot. I remember saying to Kim Isaac, who is my spiritual director, who was also at Restoration Ministries for a time, I remember telling her, like, okay, first of all, like, spiritual direction can move really slowly, and oftentimes it feels like maybe nothing's happening or I'm not really sure what's revealing itself, but I remember there was a time where I was all of a sudden like I felt like I was living from my true self in Christ. And something about spiritual direction revealed that to me.
Mm.
And I don't know how, but I think I did start in a time where I was trying to figure out false self, true self, what's going on here? What am I living from? What do those feel like? How do you define or describe, like you said, the false self? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So I think it's what Paul talks about by the flesh.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And in Philippians 3, he kind of defines the flesh, and he basically talks about a bunch of identity markers,
Yeah.
all the things that he has achieved,
Yeah.
his ethnic background, his spiritual pedigree, his academic achievements, his career accomplishments, all the ways that people tend to define themselves, their identity
Yes.
in the world. It's sort of like, you wrap yourselves in things you have, things you've accomplished, or what people have said of you, achievements,
Yes.
accolades. So that's sort of what it is. But there's so many different ways to define it. Thomas Merton talks about the false self. It's a really pithy definition that I love. It's the you that exists in the minds of others.
Mm,
And so it's when you find yourself like tending to what other people think of you or like
yes.
doing things to get other
Yes.
people to see you, like
Yes.
that's a way to live falsely.
Okay, I say I'm living from my true self, but that's still one of my biggest life struggles
For
is
sure.
controlling how I feel other people are perceiving me or
Yeah.
attempting to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just actually heard
And
someone called that out in me just last week, actually.
yeah. And yeah, right. Cause we step into that true self and then we leave it
Yeah. Yeah.
because the invitation is to put to death the flesh, the false self. And it's a sense of it's an ongoing thing. And In the welcome prayer, Thomas Keating talks about
Yes.
the power and control,
Yeah.
affection and esteem, the attachments, the over-attachment to power and control,
Yeah.
over-attachment, affection and esteem, and the over-attachment to security and survival,
Yes.
and our desire to change any circumstance or even ourselves
Yes.
or need it to be different. So that all feels like a false way. And then the true way of being is just that sense of just surrender and relaxing into the arms of God's love and just feeling that sense of like being carried and being cared for and being seen and then being just totally free to be present. And that feels like very inviting and desirable for me.
Yes. And I'm laughing a little bit to myself. It's Thomas Keating, the welcome prayer, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I think of that prayer, I think of so your youngest had a birthday party at a jumping place that my youngest was invited to. And I was just really wrestling with just, why bad things happen in life and just why God would allow that. And I was suggesting, I remember suggesting, like, Thomas Keating should perhaps change some of the words in his prayer to better reflect how I thought I don't know, the world works or how God works. I don't know what it was, but I remember just taking issue with that prayer at that time in my life.
I've been there.
But now I do find it quite lovely. Okay, I know what I wanted to ask you about. So discernment. So you were the first person that recommended to me that you thought I would enjoy spiritual direction training. You were totally right. I remember in that training, discernment was such a hot topic that everyone wanted to know more about because like we all want to know how to make the next best right choice or how to choose something that's in alignment with God's will for our lives and our purpose. And what have you found in your life strengthens discernment? I keep wanting to say, like, tips and tricks, but obviously that's not that's not what it is, but, what helps our discernment? How can we grow in that?
Yeah. Well, I think spiritual direction is just a super helpful practice.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't in spiritual direction, that's a great thing to step into because it's a place to you get help. Someone helps you listen. I have kind of a cheesy acronym that I gave a talk on discernment, and so I'll just share this.
Yay.
And I think the title of the talk or what it was is like following God's leading or listening to God's voice or something like that is
Yeah.
fun. So the acronym is fun.
Yeah.
And so the F just stands for freedom. And so really the foundational principle when we go to God to like seeking his leading and trying to discern if you have two choices, which is the way forward,
Yeah.
being able to show up to discernment in a
Yeah.
place of total surrender.
Yeah.
So we feel that there is a sense within us that we're so free we can go either direction.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we just say that, we immediately realize, well, I don't want to go that way because of that. And
Wow.
so then we sit with a prayer around that.
Yes.
Why can we not accept that as an option?
Hmm.
And then sometimes we can release that and then we realize we have to go that way and we just
Yeah.
go that way. Or sometimes we release it and we realize that we had so much baggage around it. We thought we were like guilting ourselves into considering it. But now that we've like said we were willing to do it, we realize we don't have to. That's not where God's calling us and we can go the other way. But
Yes.
just like being in that place where it feels like we can say to the Lord, essentially not my will, but yours be done, puts our posture in this place of, I think really being open to how God is leading us. So
Yes.
that's the F. The U is then uncover desires. And this kind of feels a little bit contrary to the freedom piece because the freedom piece is like we're letting go of all of the things that we want and saying, God, whatever you call us to. But oftentimes when we're in that place of freedom, we can notice the deep, deep down desires that are emerging from our
Yeah.
life with God. And the places that we have of lack of freedom oftentimes are things that feel forced
Yeah.
or expectations from family of origin or the religious system that we grew up on. Or like, there's some sense of like, I'd be a bad person if I did this or if I didn't
Hmm.
do this.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that, like once we
Wow.
kind of can get a sense of that freedom, then we can notice, not this isn't like quick checklist to do.
Right.
Sometimes you have to keep going back to the freedom
Yes.
piece, and paying attention to desires is something that you're doing over a long period of time. And sometimes, and our desires can be corrupted too. So we have to kind of sift and sort between like what's like a craving or an unhealthy or a fleshly desire, and what is a desire that is rooted in love, that is coming from our life with God in the Spirit. But
Wow.
that life with God, if we've gone to this place where we've surrendered our life to the Lord, we're striving to live in communion with Him,
Yeah.
then, a lot of the desires that will emerge will be good desires and things that we can listen to. And
Yeah.
this is, Jesus reflects this when He asks people, "What do you want me to do for you?"
Mm.
He honors the way, because He's always paying attention to what the Father is doing.
Yeah.
And part of the way He's paying attention to what the Father is doing is by listening to what people want. And so I feel like we can do that in our own lives. We can do that in the lives of others. Like when I meet somebody who really seems to have a strong passion for something,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know. But like if you feel that strongly about it, like
Yeah.
that's important. And so I'm
Yeah.
gonna like that matters. And so I'll pay attention
Yes.
to that. And then the N of fun is just notice the fruit. So finding the freedom, uncovering desires, and then noticing the fruit. And so and sometimes, like, if we're in a discernment process, so usually, as we start to walk a certain path, then
So good.
fruit comes out, and you can
Yeah.
notice, I feel like this is bearing the fruit of peace,
Yes.
joy, hope, love. But if we make a discernment decision based on like status or getting our own way or being in control, a lot of the fruit that comes out of that is going to be rage or selfish ambition or vanity or
Yeah.
discord. Paul talks about the fruits of the flesh and the fruits of the spirit. And so noticing the fruits of our decisions help us. And so we can kind of do that if we're in a discernment process and we haven't made the decision yet.
Yeah.
We can kind of do that imaginatively. You can kind of like imagine yourself making the decision and
Yeah.
then notice kind of what you start to feel as you like live that out. Or some discernment practices, people will say like, take like 2 days and act as if you've made the decision and you haven't officially like told maybe it's like you're responding to a job or doing something, but you act in your body as if you have done it one way. And then
Yes.
you take 2 days and act as if you decide and kind of just notice how it settles within you.
Yes.
And that's kind of the noticing the fruit part. So that's like, I don't know. That's not,
I
there's like,
love that. Yeah.
Ignatius has like, you know, a whole teaching on, and some of that stuff is really fantastic for
Yeah.
discernment. But that's like a super simple boiled down version.
How are you familiar with Ignatian spirituality?
So I had a spiritual director for a while who was trained in Ignatian spirituality. I did
Yeah.
the spiritual exercises.
Yeah.
I've prayed the examen a lot.
Yeah.
So I have some, and I've read books.
So the examen is like from Ignatian. Okay.
Ignatius, a
I-
little, yeah, and
okay.
it's a daily
Ignatius.
practice for the Jesuits.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, so what are your okay, so the examen, you were the first person to teach me about that. And Lectio Divina and centering prayer. Do you have a favorite spiritual formation practice right now?
I think
Or do you like
it,
weave them all in?
no, I mean my basic rhythm is pretty simple. Honestly, I'm tempted to just say like Sabbath, even though I'm not like perfect
Yeah.
at keeping Sabbath. Just, oh, I just delight when I can really take a good, like really set the Sabbath apart. I try and do as best as possible.
Yeah.
But my regular rhythm includes centering prayer and praying the daily office from the Anglican Book of Common Prayer. So that's sort of in morning and evening. That's sort of
Wait, what is that?
the Anglican Book of Common Prayer has a daily office, which is takes you through the Psalms, all the Psalms every 6,
Yeah.
takes you through the Bible throughout the year, more or less.
So that is that different than the a guide to prayer?
It's similar, it's
Okay.
different.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's kinda that same thing where you have,
Yeah.
like, that structure, so
Yeah.
you kinda open it up and it gives you a passage.
That's still one of my favorite things that I use in the morning.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah, but it's the daily office? I've never heard of that. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great structure, it's not super sophisticated, I don't pray through the whole of the liturgy.
Yeah.
But it's just not, I'll do center prayer, and then I'll do that, and then kind of at the end is the Lord's Prayer, and I'll do the Lord's Prayer, and then if just I have any requests kind of for the day or anybody that I want to hold before me or anything that I'm doing, I'm feeling anxious
Yeah.
about, this comes in there.
That's really nice. Do you do Sabbath on Sundays now?
So that's the goal. I like doing it on Sunday, but I also sometimes with kids' sports that gets disrupted.
Yeah.
And so I'm increasingly noticing that, if I have a sports weekend, I need to have a day either before the weekend or after the weekend. Otherwise, it takes a toll on me.
Do you take extended silence and like nothingness or exercise, or what is your Sabbath?
Yeah. So
What makes it Sabbathy? Yeah.
my typical Sabbath means, so on a typical day, I count I log everything I eat.
Yeah.
And so then on the Sabbath, I don't. Which is just like a huge
Yeah.
delight for me to just
Yeah.
not worry about what I eat for a day.
Yeah.
And then I do not exercise on Sabbath. So it's
Yep.
like I rest
Yeah.
and I try and stay off my phone more and just try and be more playful with my kids. What I would really like to do is have my kids not do homework on
Yeah.
Sunday, and then we could do more, but that's just not, hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
So they kind of know about it. So we talk about it. So I try and encourage the
Sweet.
ones in high school to, like, especially thinking about it as, like, the Jewish idea that the day starts at
Mm.
nighttime. So,
Mm.
like, if my daughter wanted to take it on Sunday, I would say, well, just don't do homework as soon as it gets dark on Saturday night. But once it gets dark on Sunday night, then you can start doing homework because that's technically like Monday. So
Oh,
then that
wow.
feels a little
I've
bit more
never heard that.
accessible for her
Yeah.
because she feels like she doesn't want to do homework on Saturday.
Right.
But if she can start at like 6 o'clock on Sunday night, she usually has enough time to get everything done.
Wow. You're such a good parent in the way that you and Mary, the way I've just always admired how you encourage just like authentic spiritual formation in your kids.
Sabbath is the best.
There you
It's the
go.
best.
Yeah. Do you encourage, like, are they encouraged to not use their phone as much, or how do you navigate that?
My kids are perfect and they have no screen addiction issues, just like their father who has no screen addiction issues. Yeah, it's a battle
Yeah.
with the boys more than the girls.
Yeah. Really?
I mean, I think what they say is the boys are more prone to be on video games and the girls
Huh?
are more prone to be on social media.
Yeah.
But I had read about how toxic social media is for young girls.
Yeah.
And so we have not let our kids be on social media, and basically they get on it. They're swimmers, and so they go through the recruiting process for swimming, and they have to be on it for that to
Yeah.
follow the school. And so they have essentially gotten into it kind of the second semester of their junior year.
Okay. That's incredible discipline. That's really
Or
cool that
no,
you held to that.
I just like go off about how terrible I think it is and how
Yeah.
bad for them.
Yeah. I do too. And then let our child
Yeah,
be
it's
on it.
hard. It's a battle. I mean,
It is a battle. I've tried to say, like, well, we can do it together. We can monitor it while she's in the house. Like, that's kind of when I gave in, that's what I told myself. I don't know.
yeah, so that
But
the giving in for me was, okay, I know you have to have it. You can get an account, but you have to do it on the computer. So like,
that's
okay, fine.
good.
But then like a week later they had it on their phone. And so
Okay. Yeah.
it just happens.
I mean, I don't want to delight in the fact that you gave in, but it does make me feel a little better. I think that you're in a unique position being in your leadership of spiritual direction and also the years that you spent as a pastor and someone that planted a church. I'm curious, like, what you would or how you might encourage someone in ministry um, to support their authentic walk and faith with God.
Hmm.
Like, how do you think you always? That is something like not to speak for everyone at New City, but I'll go out on a limb. I feel like that was a common thing I always heard was like we collectively just appreciated the authenticity and it just fueled more authenticity and it fueled just our relationship with God and showing up. as we were. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that like the harshest warnings that Jesus has is for religious leaders, and the primary challenge that he has is around hypocrisy. And it's primarily he calls them whitewashed tombs on the outside. You're white, but on the inside, you're full of dead and decaying bones. I mean, it's you who clean the outside of the cup, but it's just over and over. Like the issue is the disintegration that happens when what we're showing on the outside is
Wow.
different from what's going on the inside.
Yeah.
And so I think just taking seriously, how toxic that is and
Mm.
how huge the temptation is
Yeah.
as a Christian leader to like put forward this image that you've got it all figured out. Like it feels so scary to not to to give off the vibe like that I'm struggling, I'm wrestling. And I don't know that it even came from me from a place of like great goodness or holiness or purity as much as it came from a place of just anxiety. I just felt like I felt more anxious. Like for me, anytime there was that divide, I would
Yeah.
feel more anxious.
Hmm.
And so it almost was like I managed my anxiety through confession. Just
Wow.
through just like
Yeah.
trying to make as little of a gap as possible between what's on the outside and what's on the inside.
Wow.
So that was,
That's
you know,
yeah.
so that would be, that was, sometimes if I had a rough week or if Mary had conflict that week, I felt like I needed to reconcile with her before I got up and preached because I felt anxious about getting up and preached as
Yes.
and there may be a little bit of unhealthiness in that. Like I should be able to kind of be maybe a little bit more okay, but that was just how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
And then oftentimes I would talk about it.
I love that. And how do retreats make a difference in your life? Would you say that's like a pretty you have retreats coming up for Restoration Ministries, right?
Yeah, we've got a couple of retreats. We got a half day retreat, and we have a 5 day silent retreat at Pacham in the Hermitages, which is we've not done a retreat that long.
Wow. Yeah, 5 days you said?
Well, it's like Monday at 11 a.m. till
Yeah.
Friday at like 1 or something.
Amazing. Is it silent or
So it'll be mostly silent, and there will be, I think, 2 times a day where people can come and participate in essentially like a little bit of centering prayer and Lectio,
yeah.
and then just disperse. So there's not really talking.
Yeah.
And then we'll eat dinner together, which will be in silence. And then there will be optional group spiritual direction at night. So if you're at a place where you just need to talk, it's too much silence for you, or maybe something really big has come up and you need help processing it, every night that's available for people if they want to come
Cool.
and participate. But if you want to spend the entire time without talking, people totally can.
Yeah. What a gift you're offering the world in that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think, um, we just the demands of everyday life, kind of it can distract us from
Yeah.
what's going on the inside and getting away and retreat. Sometimes that issue that we've been able to distract away with our busyness just
Yeah.
comes right up to the forefront. And it's just extended time moving at a pace with the Lord. Even just a 24-hour retreat can be so disruptive to
Yeah.
the the thought patterns that we have
Yes.
just to being in that then as you come back into your everyday life feel I will feel different re-entering.
I love that.
It's hard for me. It's one of the disciplines that I struggle with because I just feel there's just so much going on in family life
Right.
and just feel bad.
Same. Yeah.
Don't wanna miss, partly feel
Right.
guilty for getting away.
Yeah. And then do you just feel the guilt and do it anyway?
I know that I'm a better parent. I just like, the best gift I really believe the best gift
Yes.
that I can give to my kids is myself.
Yeah. Mm.
So,
Oh, I love that. And what did I want to ask you? Okay, I want to be respectful of your time. We're already at an hour. Wow. Okay, I do want to ask though, how can we talked a little bit about discernment before, but like specifically discern God's voice in our lives through all the other thoughts and voices that come at us throughout the day?
Yeah,
What
this
lights
is
up in you when you're like, yep, that's God?
feels like peace,
Yeah.
feels like love beyond which I can imagine,
Yeah.
and joy and hope, all the fruits of the spirit. When I was working as an engineer and trying to figure out, do I really just quit my job and move to
Yeah.
Malawi, Africa? Like, this is so crazy. And so I really, really, really wanted God to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I, you know, was just begging God to tell me what to do and doing the like open the Bible and drop the finger and
Yeah.
just
Oh
just
yeah.
so badly wanted God. And I just really felt like he didn't want to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like that so often when I go to the Lord looking for a word, it's not quite, he's not quite answering it the way that I want him to answer it.
Yeah.
Uh, and the voice often exists at that deep place of abiding and resting with him,
Yeah.
and generally has that sense of like, oh my gosh, I feel so loved and so cared for. Like, everything, I'm going to be fine. I can just calm down. Or I don't know what I'm going to do, but if it all falls apart, it doesn't matter. Or, I don't know, whatever it is that I'm going to the Lord. And sometimes it does feel like he's gracious to me and I'm in a lot of distress and I really would like a word and he'll give me some sense of a word for me that feels really comforting to me. But a lot of times God's voice to me feels like this deeply intimate interaction that affects my spirit and everything feels okay in the aftermath. And I sometimes know if it's a discernment question, I will sometimes know what to do, even though it doesn't feel like he's told me what to do.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard to describe God's voice because it's so rarely for me. But I've had instances where it feels like I've had some sort of like interaction with the Lord.
Yeah.
And then I've gone to, like, write something, and it just, like, all comes out. Like, it feels like it has come to me, like, in 2 pages, in,
Well,
like, exact but it wasn't like I heard God dictate that to me or anything,
yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
that sense of something happens deep
Wow.
in your spirit
Yeah.
that just gives understanding and insight, and everything all of a sudden just makes sense, and so then I can,
Mm.
like, write it out
Yeah.
and, like, perfectly explain what was happening in this situation. Or it's like, "Oh, now I know what that was about."
Cool.
And I not but it doesn't but, like, God didn't tell me what it was about. So
Yeah. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. Are you writing right now? Is
I
that
am
like a
not.
yeah.
I write the occasional newsletter for Restoration Ministries. I have that Substack that I haven't I've written some stuff, but I haven't posted anything since June and just kind of in a, I don't know, place with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking you're just a talented writer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, I'm just so like being back in your presence, I'm so reminded of you exude such a content way about you, which almost makes me laugh because of how we started the conversation and talking about like disappointments and then how God fills that. So I feel the fruit of that because there's like y- it's just everything feels like it's okay, all is
Great.
well. Just yeah. So I enjoy that about you. Is there anything else that's on your heart that you care to share?
This has been so fun.
So fun.
Such a delight. You're very good at this.
Oh, you're so kind.
Yes, you are. I listened to some of your podcasts before, like it was actually like a month ago or two, and I was like,
Oh
"Oh
yeah.
my gosh, Kate is really gifted at this." It was
Well,
really
that's
fun to
nice.
listen to,
That's so nice.
and
Thanks, Jen.
it's fun to be here with you.
It is so fun. Would it be okay if I closed with some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
No pressure to go really fast,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
you
I don't
can.
know that I do that yet.
Okay, first, okay, I why am I oh, yeah, when do you notice or remember the presence of God from within your body?
Mm, often tears and just feels like relaxation, just like a letting down, and sometimes in my chest.
What does it feel like in your chest? I'm just curious.
I don't know. It's a little bit hard to put words to, but it
Yeah.
kind of feels like embrace,
Wow.
but it's internal.
Wow. That's so cool. How about the presence of Jesus? Same, different?
These are not rapid fire questions. I think that Jesus feels more alongside. I more like guide and
Yeah.
so safe.
Yeah. Wow. How about what does faith mean to you?
Faith feels like the key to me. Feels like in that sense of like deep trust. And so faith often feels like it's a fruit of releasing
Mm,
and letting go
yeah.
and kind of we were talking about before, kind of like naming, actually I'm going to trust that I'm okay without this thing that I was
Yeah.
attached to.
Yeah.
And just a deep sense of detachment from needing my life to go any other way than it's going.
That just feels like such an invitation to me right now. Selfishly, exactly what I need to hear and I'm
That's
working
great.
on. So thank you. How do you hear from God? And what, may I ask, are you hearing right now?
Okay. Well, so this morning I heard from the Lord as I was reading from the Gospel of John, and it was in chapter 6, and Jesus was talking about, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you don't have life. And it's such an interesting, jarring thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and he says right in there, these are spiritual words. But I think what was clear to me, at least as I was reading it, was like, and he says, I can't remember exactly the verbiage, but it's essentially like, this is how you abide.
Hmm.
You eat my flesh
Hmm.
and you drink my blood. And I think in terms of what we were talking about, the flesh being with Paul, that external sense, like Jesus' flesh was so weak. He was so vulnerable. He was abandoned. Even at the end of that chapter, he essentially says to his disciples, what, are you going to leave me now too? And I can just
Hmm.
like hear Jesus saying that, like that everybody just leaves him. And earlier in the chapter, he says, you're only here because I gave you free bread.
Hmm.
Just so he's just aware, like people aren't really loving him for who he
Hmm.
is. They're not really getting it. They're just wanting the gifts from him.
Wow.
And so I just have this clear picture of Jesus being misunderstood,
Hmm.
being used, taken
Hmm.
advantage of, being betrayed, failing, the
Wow.
failing movement, crucified, so
Wow.
weak.
Wow.
And in that, that's his flesh, not the accolades, not the accomplishments, not the achievements. And just this invitation, like, feed on that. And so for me, that just feels like there's so much freedom to just let go of all the parts of me that want to construct a good flesh, that want to construct a good false self.
Yeah.
And that's the way I abide. That's the way I remain in him, is by feeding on his flesh in that way. It's a little bit weird, but
That's so interesting. I've never heard it that way. So,
I mean, a lot of times people don't know what to make of it. And so
yeah.
they kind of think that John just put that in there as an allusion to,
Huh.
but maybe there's a better way, to read it. But for me, as I was reading it, that was really what stood out to me.
That's so cool.
And it feels like Jesus is talking about that, like that feels like that's his message over and over in the Gospels, like in Matthew 16, whoever wants to save his life must lose it.
Right.
If you want to come after me, take up your cross and die forever. Loses
Yes.
his life for my
Yes.
sake will gain it.
Yes.
So there's just he's constantly making that invitation to let go of
Yes.
the attachment to the flesh, to the false self. Just entrust your life into his hands.
Thank you so much. I love that. Yeah, I'm going to sit with that. And lastly, I love to end every episode with an invitation to healing, whether that be just like a small mindset shift to bring with us as we move forward in the days ahead, or a little bit of a practice, something physical, anything that might come to mind for you that you might care to share.
Well, so maybe just consistent with, so this is me making invitation to other people, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So maybe just to piggyback on that Matthew 16 and the eat my flesh, drink my blood.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love it.
Thomas Keating, one of the things that was really helpful for me is
Yeah,
it was like I experienced it like he was taking me by the shoulders
yeah.
and like shaking me and saying, listen to me. I'm telling you something that's really, really true. I promise you, lose your life and you will be
Mm,
happier.
well,
And that's the way I received it. Like he's just like is on the other side where he's lost his life.
yes,
And I'm still on the side where I'm trying to cling to my life.
yes, yeah.
And he's telling me, just let go.
Well,
It's so much better. Just, I promise you, I
well,
promise you, just let go of your life. So
well.
that's the invitation.
Literally. Wow. Thank you, Jen. That's so beautiful and so almost funny to me. Again, selfishly. Again, someone last week was like, I feel like you're just like holding on so tight, like clinging to, did they say in my life? And that you're just like ready to fall, like ready to give in, but you're just clinging, clinging, clinging. So it's just, isn't it just so funny sometimes when things like
It's
land and
fun.
I feel like it's just divine timing.
It's fun.
Well, I don't want it to end, but I am really grateful to have had this time with you. And beyond that, for your incredibly impactful presence in my life. You planted seeds of faith in my life and my family's that continue to just blossom. So I'm deeply grateful for you and grateful that you're doing the work that you're doing in the world. And thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Kate.
sharing your time here. I
I'm really
appreciate it.
grateful for you too. I really enjoy this.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening. I would so appreciate a follow or an authentic review. It'll help us connect more with people that long to get to the heart of the original mission of Jesus and to spread and share the energy of Christ. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All my love to you. Have a great week.